All right, everybody, we should be live. Let's make sure that's actually the case over on Rumble, of course. I should probably mute my audio. There we go. I do see people waiting. I do see chat is moving, so I am hopeful about this. We'll be banting about New Hampshire first. I'll reiterate some of my predictions, expectations, etc. We do have one new poll. In fact, let me open RCP preemptively. We might have, it's possible, although not likely, there might be other polls available now. It's still just the Boston Globe Suffolk poll. We'll get into the polling too. I'll use the latest polls for New Hampshire, etc. We've got to talk about also Javier Milei, absolutely crushing it at the WEF meeting. He showed up and basically used it to pontificate about how socialism was evil. There's some translated in English for people that don't speak Spanish. There's a clip here. There are some other clips floating around too from his annual meeting 2024 with the World Economic Forum. Again, basically using it to denounce the things that Klaus Schwab intends to promote. And we've got more Nikki Haley cringe. Oh boy, we got to talk about that. She's doing the girl boss thing. Also, an insider at CVS leaking internal documents. We'll get into some of the sub and substance of the DEI critical race theory sort of crap that we see from there. So boycott CVS pharmacies. That is a good idea. Ted Cruz has endorsed Trump. And then North Korea, unfortunately, continues to backslide away from the progress that was made under the Trump years diplomatically. As the Biden years drag on, unfortunately, the peace is off the table at the moment. If we restore Trump Grover Cleveland style, we might be able to make up for lost time, maybe have some more rapprochement. Maybe after people realize again, they forgot, maybe they need to be reminded of how good we had it under Donald Trump. Maybe they'll elect somebody else who's populistic after him. I'm hoping it's like a Rand Paul or something like that. That would be good. I want a dynastic regime, not dynastic in the sense of, well, Don Jr. 2028. I don't like that kind of nepotistic sort of political situation. The Clintons tried that, for example. The Roosevelts engaged in it. One Roosevelt was good. The next Roosevelt, not so much. Locking up 250,000 people in concentration camps for ethnic reasons. Yeah, that he has, by the way, been overlooked by leftoids. Yeah. King Charles is in the hospital. Good. Hopefully he croaks. That means that the British monarchy, for the first time in a long time, would be run by someone who's not completely geriatric. Any update on Grassley? I have no clue, CJB. Oh, what's he up to? Let me check really quick. What happened to Chuck Grassley? Age and Family Life explored as the oldest member of the Senate is hospitalized. Oh, yeah, he's hospitalized with an infection. When you're 90 and you get an infection, it can be a big problem. So I don't know. I guess he's hospitalized. By the way, I realize that everyone has a hangover from the Iowa caucus, so I don't expect as many people as normal to show up, especially in this time slot. I'm still working out the time slot, although I really do like this time of day. I go on right before the quartering, who has been very generous to me, actually, helping with Fidium, etc. Was very kind. Some people were criticizing him earlier and saying, well, I didn't like it. The quartering asked Sticks to move to a different slot. I actually appreciated it because competing with the quartering versus having a slot where there's no major competitor, it's actually helpful to me. So I give him credit for that. Oscar Gonzalez, Biltong Pizza. Probably would be a good thing, especially with the carbonasi. Maybe I'll try it sometime. I'll do Biltong Pizza taste test or something. Lord of the Ree, what the fuck is up, Denny's? I went to Denny's exactly once. I fucking hated it. They are extremely overrated by the people that for some reason enjoy their slop. Magic Hand Puppet. I missed 3 minutes. What the fuck? My day is ruined. Yeah, I'm going to try to make like a weird ass pizza. Like some people have started putting bananas on their pizza, I guess now, to one up the pineapple pizza eaters. It doesn't sound bad. It just doesn't sound maybe not down my alley, but I mean, I would try it, I suppose. When are the trip reports coming back? LMAO. I don't think I can put them on YouTube. All of the trip report reduxes are still up on BitChute and Rumble, however. Jason Lane, this is a two-person race from third place. Do you think Nikki Haley is in on a real in-motion plan to permanently remove Trump from the running? That's definitely her goal. It's just, I don't think achievable. We'll get into polling in New Hampshire actually right away. We've got latest polls over on Real Clear Polling on Real Clear Politics. We have Trump up by 16 and running at 50 for the New Hampshire Republican presidential primary. This reflects a bounce, I think, because this is post-Iowa polling. It reflects a slight bounce from having won the first state #1, and also, I think, the Ramaswamy and Burgum endorsements #2. As I pointed out this morning, if you look at the last poll before Iowa, and you add Ramaswamy's aggregated total to it, you get 50. Yeah, it's right on the button. I have a feeling that the endorsement is going to carry him in New Hampshire. He doesn't need to be at 50, by the way. He simply needs to be in the mid to upper 40s. Nikki Haley has never posted that level in New Hampshire polling. The idea of a Nikki Haley surge, I think, after she took third place in Iowa, probably blunted. She might rise a few more points. And DeSantis could get a nudge up, by the way, in the end of polling. My suspicion is that Trump will win in the upper 40s, much like with Iowa. I said upper 40s to low 50s. He was at 51 there. I don't think he quite makes it to 50 in New Hampshire. Nikki Haley will be in the 30s somewhere. She will come in second. It'll be a reasonable second place showing, but again, much like with DeSantis coming in second in Iowa, she's blowing her load effectively on one state that she has incessantly targeted. And she's calling in Democrats to cross the aisle to vote for her in the primaries there just to get that accomplished. That represents a slight boost for her. But if Trump is ahead by 16 points or thereabouts, again, it's probably an insurmountable lead. You'll see a shift at the end, possibly against Trump, possibly for him, but I don't think that it's going to be enough. The number of voters that you're going to have to persuade based on turnout, especially, you're probably not going to get another blizzard and 30 below condition like you got in Iowa, depressing turnout. The number of independent and Democratic voters that you have to get to cross the aisle while the Democrats are campaigning on the ground in New Hampshire for a Biden write-in campaign, because, of course, the New Hampshire primary is effectively a political non-entity on the Democratic side, I think is an insurmountable total, where we would be talking about multiple tens of thousands of voters. I think that'll be difficult to persuade that many people. Haley's trying, though. Although I would point out also, should she win in New Hampshire, she probably doesn't win any other states anyway. I mean, I've basically written her off. This race is effectively over. Ted Cruz pointed this out the other day. We'll be talking about his endorsement later and why it matters to some degree. Half of the GOP Senate has already endorsed Trump. Only a couple, I think, have endorsed anyone else, and pretty much everyone is flipping in his favor because they see the writing on the wall. And they know that crossing wires with Trump is politically inconvenient, generally speaking. A number of people stabbed him in the back, and none of them are in Congress anymore, so that speaks volumes. Even people who obviously don't like Trump particularly try to keep generally on his good side because they realize, the gravity of the situation. We've got other polling, too. Trump v. Biden in general, Morning Consult. Trump is at +2 in that, but Biden is at +1 from Economist and YouGov. In the presidential nomination, also from The Economist, Trump is at +58. He's riding near 70 now. I would be very surprised, by the way, as the old Reuters and I believe Rasmussen polls drop off the screen. I think that Trump will be up towards the upper 60s in the general. Again, that basically seals the deal, regardless of what happens in New Hampshire. We need new polling. We're going to get a little bit more of that before the voting begins. Biden's job approval still abysmal, and I think still falling, actually. Let me open that one up and see. Oh, and it dragged me down to the bottom of the screen. General election, Trump v. Biden. Yes, Trump +1.3 in the aggregate, so he's maintaining his lead there. Small lead, but he never had one in 2016 or 2020. And for the general nomination, Trump is in the aggregate now. This is the gap between Trump and second place Haley. That gap is over 50 points now. He's riding at 62 at the moment. I suspect, again, as the Reuters and Rasmussen polls, both firms, by the way, underrepresenting, I think, Trump's popularity. They've been well behind the aggregated sort of margin of error. I think that he'll win fairly handily. Basically, the race is over. I'm looking forward to streaming on New Hampshire's primary night, but other than Super Tuesday, I don't know that it's going to be justified to bother live streaming any of the other events unless presidential debates happen. And that's, again, as I pointed out this morning, still very much up in the air. Sparky, greetings, fearless leader. Greetings to you as well, Sparky. Bobby22, you mentioned a few streams ago that you bought vintage colognes on eBay. Which ones do you own now? Maybe I should show off the collection. I might do that tomorrow if it's a slow news day, so stay tuned. I would like to show those off and give my opinion on the scent. Some of them smell better than others. I've got a few favorites. Most of them from the 80s, a few from the 90s, early 2000s, and then a handful from the late 70s, actually. John Cordisco's Corner, welcome back to the U.S. Still appearing on Timcast? Yes, at the end of this month. Timcast IRL, you should subscribe. Jabuti Lebowski, I tried to write a sci-fi novel using AI. It never really got any traction. I wonder if I plug it in here, maybe it'll catch the YouTube algo. Check out Echoes of the Nexus by AI Presents audiobook. It's an interesting idea. Ryan McDonald, USA. Everyone wondering where Nikki Haley Republican supporters are from? It's New Jersey. Lol. Yeah, not a surprise. Sparky, I don't trust Vivek and Trump admin in any capacity. Yes, let me clear the air about Ramaswamy. I stick to my guns. The fact that he endorsed Donald Trump does not magically make me trust the man. I like what he says. The fact that he endorsed Trump is very helpful. I appreciate that. There's nothing wrong with it. I still think that he's in it for saboteur purposes. Think about it this way. You know that you failed in the primaries to stop Trump. That was the original goal. You failed at that. Now you want to be in his cabinet because you want to be Grima Wormtongue. That's basically the way I look at it. I don't care if Ramaswamy fans dislike me for saying so, but there would be no reason for him not to endorse Donald Trump at this juncture because it's self-evident he's going to be the nominee. So I stick to my guns. I noticed that there are a bunch of conservatives who basically they go back and forth based on what Trump says, whether they like someone or dislike someone. I don't play that game. Billy, Grover Cleveland 2.0. We need to play Chatelet, vocal extended version more. Yes, we need some Chatelet energy. Kior Yuko 1977. Good morning to you all, sir, and clanks all around. Clank, clank to you too. Dan sent $4.99. No comment. Thank you. Jake Iannarino. Jake Iannarino is a comedy genius. I'm Styx Hexenhammer, and I approve this message. I believe he's shouting himself out, so you get a little click there. Yeah, baby. I'll check it out. Machete-ish Records. Can you shout out my druidic rap group, Jinx Inc.? We're from Vermont. Oh, interesting. Jinx Inc. Let me look that up. If I come to a show or something. That'd be cool. Jinx Inc. Yeah, I'll check out your website later. I'll just load it now. Jinx Inc. Eidos and Crypto Man are Jinx Inc., the druidic rap duo. Watch now. I'll take a look at your stuff, man. Believe it or not, I actually like some rap. Most people wouldn't understand. Kathleen Green, what's the difference between Jesus and a picture of Jesus? It only takes one nail to hang the picture. Little bit of edgy humor there. It's more edgy if you make a joke about other religions. I'm not allowed to repeat it. That's the irony. Next news story. Javier Milei went to the WEF meeting. And I think Klaus Schwab was pissing himself at the moment because his messaging is a little bit different from what you would generally conceive of as like a globalist, Atlanticist, imperialistic in some cases, WEF message where he talks about the evils of socialism, the evils of feminism, the evils of DEI and wokeness and so forth, and how leftist and centralistic policies create a death spiral. And he's like, well, and nobody knows better than us Argentines that that's what happens. Yeah, you should avoid it. I'm imagining the globalists in the audience is like, I don't know if they're going to clap at the end of his speech. I just wanted to give credit where credit's due, though. Javier Milei is the real deal. Since he's gotten into office, and it wasn't long ago, he shrunk the number of government ministries significantly. He decided to undo the extra budgetary money that they were going to give to government workers to expand the bureaucracy. He canceled that. He's continuing to talk about dollarization. He's now trolling the WEF. He's made good on a lot of his goddamn promises already. And others are up in the air for legal reasons, of course, because he's not a dictator, although I'm sure that some Argentines would like him to be temporarily. Sort of like a Pinochet moment. Free helicopter rides. Now it seems he's getting into it with Venezuela, actually, to an extent. Pretty good. Give him a 9 out of 10. He gets an A at the moment for the efforts that he's making. Trolling Klaus Schwab, of course, is just the icing on the cake. Of course, this is just a speech. It's the stated policy, but it's still enjoyable. It's very, very funny to watch. You should take a look. Link in the description, of course, not archived, to the tweet actually by Ian Xiong here with part of Malay's speech having been transliterated. There are other clips. If you just look up Javier Malay on Twitter right now, or Javier Malay WEF, you're going to find plenty of clips. Some of them aren't translated, so like if you speak fluent Spanish, it's going to be easier for you. I only say dirty words in Spanish, so I had to use the possibly not 100% accurate British translation, the Polish British translation. I think, by the way, if we re-elect Trump, one of his first meetings should be with Javier Malay. Oh, they would pal it up. They'd be so goddamn chummy. You just know there'd be plenty of back padding on that one. It would be hilarious. Let's see. Mackenzie Lee, Sticks, my dad and I are going to the Trump rally in New Hampshire this weekend. How early do you recommend we go? You'll probably be waiting in line for several hours, so I would definitely go early. George Gabriel, $2, no comment, thank you. Grazioso, Trump's rally in New Hampshire on Saturday. You should go. I thought about it, but then I reconsidered it because I'm like, okay, this is New England. It's going to be cold. I don't really like being around a lot of people. I don't like crowds. I'm going to be waiting there in the cold for several hours before it even begins. I was like, while I would like to see the man himself in person, I think that maybe I'll cover it live or something instead. I realized that I would meet probably a bunch of clankers there, and that would be really, really fun, but I don't do well in crowds. I don't do well in society, actually. I'm very open about this fact that I'm sociophobic, by the way. My mouse, by the way, is having some issues at the moment. I really hope that they cease. Scott 066G, clanking from frozen tundra of Massachusetts. Ah, a masshole. Just joking. You're not far away. 1 Adam 12 Roger, if a tree falls in the woods and no one hears it, does it make a sound? Yes, but unfortunately there was nobody there to hear it thump. And in the last windstorm, I heard it 5 or 6 times in the night. The wall was creaking, and I was up most of the night. I kept getting woken up by the wall making weird noises because the wind was so stiff. Cat cans. Now that Ramaswamy has dropped out, supported Trump, and practically made out with him on stage, do you feel we can trust him for even a limited role in Trump's government? I'd be surprised if he did not get a position in the Trump government. I would be surprised if he was chosen as running mate, however. Now, I don't think that would work. Trump wants someone who will stand in the background. He does not want a firebrand as VP. It's just his nature. Matt G. Hammond, what could Vivek Durch say to change your mind? He has been on several long-form live streams where he has discussed doing a Javier Milei to the administrative state. Well, if he gets in there into a Trump cabinet position and spends 4 years dutifully doing his job and there are no problems, then I'll say, okay, I was wrong. But not until then. And of course, you remember, just because someone gets chummy with Trump on stage doesn't mean they get that position. Look at Chris Christie. Let's see. Sparky, Fahrenheit, always worked back in the early 90s, but the EU banned its original formula because it smelled bad to 1 in every 3 million people who you wouldn't want to fuck anyway. I don't know what that's a reference to, my dude. George Gabriel. I was expecting a standalone video about Vivek endorsing Trump. Why no video? Because I haven't changed my opinion in any demonstrable manner. Joe, what happened to the truck protesters in Canada? Well, they went home after the protests were over. Meanwhile, some electric truck drivers in the Midwest right now are out of a job for a while. Next news story. Nikki Haley getting cringe again. This was her post on Twitter the other day, and I was like, okay, and girl boss it up, or really nobody's taken in by it. I'll debate Donald Trump right here, right now. He can't hide forever. Auntie done told you. Nikki Haley's off her rocker. She thinks that Donald Trump is interested in debating her in any way, shape, or form, or that it's a detriment to him that he hasn't. Well, it didn't seem to hurt him in Iowa. That's number one. Number two, by refusing to debate DeSantis unless Trump is on the stage, Nikki Haley is actually robbing herself of some golden moments. This has been pointed out even by commentators friendly to Nikki Haley. She is a better debater than Ron DeSantis, but she refuses to debate him. If she could parasitize some of his support, she would actually be semi-viable in New Hampshire, but she's choosing not to do that. And I believe, like some others do, that that is a drastic mistake. Meanwhile, I've got Sununu, unlikable governor who's not even running for re-election, I think. He's stumping for her constantly. He's always next to her. It's almost like they're a couple. It's almost kind of creepy how Sununu like fawns over her and parades around next to her as though she's the greatest thing since sliced bread. It's almost a little bit bizarre. It's like when Kim Reynolds endorsed, for example, in Iowa, when she endorsed DeSantis, it's like, okay, she did a couple speeches, she did a couple of events, but, you know, the candidacy is separate from my gubernatorial job. With Sununu, it's almost like he's campaigning to be Nikki Haley's VP more than anything else. And I think that was originally the intent. I think that Sununu judged Nikki Haley as being viable, was hoping Trump's taken out, you know, through some legal means, and then he's left standing as one of the prominent governors that endorsed her and really, really put in the effort to promote her. And then is hoping to be, you know, Chris Sununu, vice president. Not going to happen. Chris Sununu, secretary of state or something like that. And the dude looks just off his rocker all the time. And he's out of touch with the New Hampshire public. Those that aren't going off into lefty land are joining the Free State movement mainly. And he's a neocon. He's sort of like Rick Scott, here, the governor of Vermont, that I frequently criticize over everything except for his attempt to have a sane tax policy. He's literally the only thing standing against the far left as far as fiscal policy goes. So he's got exactly one thing redeemable about his character. He's an anti-gunner. He's got TDS, etc. Sununu is very much the same. You often get Republican governors in New England states that deviate wildly from like the la land left, who are only accepted because they have TDS at this point. Drew Nalbane. Today's alt tech release, plants only get about 20% of the CO2 they want. Yep, exactly. But pretty soon YouTube will begin banning people for pointing that out. Rocky, how concerned should we be about the solar storm that will supposedly wipe out the power grid this year and kill 90% of us? I don't think that's going to happen at any given time. Another Carrington event isn't necessarily likely, but it is inevitable long term. We should be hardening more electrical systems. Smartphone users, people addicted to their smartphones will be running around like chickens with their heads cut off. All the phones will be dead and there'll be a panic, basically. I'll be sitting there saying, I never use it anyway except for emergency calls. Fuck. Sparky, you'd mentioned collecting colognes. Fahrenheit was a popular men's cologne in the early 90s. Oh, I didn't know that. I don't have that one. I'll show off my collection probably tomorrow. Mel, I've been a silent viewer for almost 10 years. Nobody reports the news better than you, Sticks. Well, thank you very much for the very long-term support. Yeah, I'm going to keep going, hopefully, for the next 10 years, too. Yeah, you're an early clanker. You came in before. If you came in before the 2016 election, you're an OG clanker. No offense to anyone that came in after that, which is 80, 90% of you. Redane, you need new kitty, long hair man. We've got cats, but they are less social than the ones from the Netherlands. Joe, Emmanuel Macaroon, good or bad? Will he help lead a new crusade, or will he just go back to making small cake desserts? The world may never know. Yeah. I'm not a fan of Macron because he's creepy, because he married his pervy teacher that was 20 years older than him. And it's like, yeah, all right. And then he had those pictures there with the migrants that were all like sweaty and oiled up. And he was like, it looked like he was about to have a steamy gay romp or something. And he's just a weird dude, generally speaking. But I mean, who better to lead the nation of France than somebody who's a little bit wonky in the sexual sense, you know? Next news story. Exclusive. Insider at CVS leaks internal documents exposing potential criminal violations of the Civil Rights Act. CVS leadership is instructed to hire and promote on the basis of race and gender. That is illegal. Well, usually it's illegal. If it were any other race that it were excluding from this, it would be. CVS also has directives to discriminate against white suppliers and vendors by prioritizing diversity. But it's affirmative action. We're not putting down on the white people. We're just pulling everybody else up in their stead. The company also offers an exclusive program to help non-white women to advance their careers. You can look at some of that. Again, links in the description to all these things. By the way, merch shout out, mandatory merch shout out, Pumpkin Firecrafts and Anton's USA, landofbiltong.com. Both in the description. You can get delicious meat, you can get mugs, you can get bookmarks, you can get everything. Also, shout out for my books blog. You can get all sorts of cool occult books from me. Link is in the description and pinned at the top if you're watching on YouTube. That's the WordPress site. If you prefer Blogspot, that's just in the description because I can only pin one comment. I've got you covered. We've got Theosophy, the Freemasons. We've got occult grimoires. We've got literal spell books. Black magic. I've got a bunch of compilations. Demonology, the paranormal, strange history. Herb lore, herbal medicine, it's becoming a big thing again in the wake of Hong Kong's certain medical problems that occurred several years ago. Well, I think I've got about 30 works on the subject, so lots of merch, lots of books. Excised, thanks for years of content and commentary, watching since 2016 before Trump was elected. Another OG clanker. I appreciate you very much. Yeah, SGE leader actions. Again, this was leaked from CVS Pharmacy. Leader actions required to advance our diverse talent. Let me try to, I've got to expand this in order to read it. Source diverse talent. Rise to the challenge. Ensure every opening is filled using the enhanced hiring toolkit, job description template, internal and external sourcing plan, competency-based interview guide, assessment to evaluate job candidates fairly and objectively. Advance diverse talent. Prioritize sourcing internal diverse talent. Publicize job opportunities broadly. Communicate promotional criteria to the entire team. Retain diverse talent. Join forces. Senior directors and above will formally or informally mentor one diverse mentee each year. Interesting. So, you will formally help, people, but on the basis of the color of their skin, not the content of their character. All participants must meet the eligibility requirements for each program before participating. Nominations can come from managers and HR partners or through self-nomination. Self-nomination forms can be found here. Asian and Pacific Islanders, Black or African American, Hispanic Latino, individuals with disabilities, LGBTQA+, okay, and women. What's not on that list? Which race and which gender are precluded from participation unless they happen to like to bump uglies with people of the same gender or something like that. Interesting. What you need to know about CVS's Health's social justice and equity commitments. This information applies to US-based colleagues only. Yeah, so if there's a pharmacy in Dubai, they're not doing this. I fucking wonder why. The information contained in this document is subject to change at the discretion of CVS Health anytime for any reason without advance notice. At CVS Health, actually, I don't know if this is CVS Pharmacy. CVS Health. I think they're linked. Probably. Okay, maybe don't boycott CVS Pharmacy until you fact check that. Sorry about that. What are our social justice and equity commitments? There's a lot of them. Adopt Martin Luther King Day as an enterprise-wide holiday. Recommit to an aggregate target for supplier diversity. Expand the reach of our workforce initiative programs into traditionally underserved communities and talent pools. Implement a 5-year community investment strategy that includes expanding Project Health beyond our store footprint, making investments in affordable housing and programs to address food insecurity, and expanding scholarships and endowments at historically Black colleges. It's a laundry list of critical race theory and DEI in general. Look at them for yourself. Again, link in the description. Yeah, is this CVS Pharmacy? This is CVS in Rutland, actually. I think it is. I think that's the attaché of CVS Health, if I remember correctly. Sparky, someone suggested, I think it was on Timcast, Vivek would make a great press secretary. That would be a good role for him. If Vivek has to be in the Trump admin, I'd agree. Yeah, he'd do a good job as press secretary. Yeah, I could see him in that role. Soleil 333, since for whatever reason Slavs are considered people of color here in the US, I enjoy using that to mess with the crazy lefties and shut them up. It's fun to watch them panic. It depends on the skin tone more than anything else. The United States has a weird racial and ethnic breakdown sort of categorical system. Rocky, wish incompetent Shined quit with deadly viruses. Yeah, no, they developed a version of the Hong Kong virus with a 100% mortality rate. I trust their biolabs to keep it contained. Shauna, word is Elise Stefanik will be VP. Thoughts? Possible. I think it's more likely to be a female than a male. It's not likely to be someone who has a lot of star power. So while Tucker Carlson would be a great pick, I think Trump doesn't ever want to be upstaged. He always wants to be the main focal point if he's on stage with other people. That's part of his political and business strategy. So that'd be a far cry. Vivek Ramaswamy, too. You could tell at times with the body language, it looked like Trump was upset that Ramaswamy was being so high energy, actually, when he endorsed. David Hunter, CVS Health is the parent company of pharma, so same company. Okay. Boycott CVS Pharmacy, everyone, for their bigotry against white people and males. Edward Reen, clickety-clack. The band of the day is Beardfish. Rip, you beautiful Swedes. Clackety-click. Interesting. I see Anton is there. King of Biltong, yeah. Oh, he's also shouting. I already shouted you out. I don't know if you saw that, but he also donated. King of Biltong. Good morning from Anton's in Roanoke, Texas. Free shipping on your Biltong using code STICKS on www.landofbiltong.com and www.antonsusa.com. First batch Angus Reaper XXX in production. Pre-orders are open. I have seen the spice pack. It looks goddamn spicy. Pumpkin Fire Crafts, thank you to all the clankers who have supported me and remarked in chats your support of the store. 20% off your entire order with code STICKSHexenhammer. There's the merch, people. I appreciate it. Essential Liberty, do you need 9mm self-defense ammo? I have the best. In 50-count boxes, not that 20-count crap. My 5.56 and 300 blackout boxes are 30-count too. One per standard cap mag. Clankers get 10% off, promo clank. You know, we're doing brisk business here in Clankdom now. We're getting into some fucking capitalism. Ash blah blah. Volume 1 of the Philosophy of Redemption by Philip Mainlander is now finally available in English on Amazon. I am not the translator nor a promoter, just an avid obscure philosophy enthusiast. Sounds interesting. Anthraxiomatic. Before, you said that Vivek hated Trump and was just running to absorb MAGA votes. If that were true, he would never have endorsed. He would have endorsed DeSantis instead of Trump after dropping. No, because nobody else has a possibility, and he realizes that, so he's trying to get into the cabinet. Again, I will change my mind about Ramaswamy if he does his duty. Is what I suspect will be the case when he's grabbed up for a cabinet position. Mega Sea Monkey. Who are the most relevant Democratic candidates? Also, Zhenk. LMAO. What? Yeah, Zhenk's losing it. Like, if he lost the plot before, now he's lost the whole goddamn book. The most relevant Democratic candidate is Biden. In fact, he's the only one that's relevant. He's clearly going to be nominated. Whether he accepts the nomination at the DNC's big convention or he throws his delegates to a hand-picked successor, that is something that could be of interest. We are not sure. Sparky, Stefanik is a hardcore genocide advocate. Yeah, there are better choices. Next news story, Ted Cruz has enthusiastically endorsed Donald Trump for president, saying this race is over, saying that he's the only viable candidate, and I happen to agree with him. Now, I will never fully forgive Ted Cruz because of the NSA moment that he had many years ago. He and Rand Paul were holding up things in a filibuster over the NSA spying scandal, and Ted Cruz cucked at the last moment, so I can never forgive him for that. I would never support him for a presidential one. But he is useful sometimes. He's endorsing Trump. He does speak out in the sea. He's a workhorse at the very least and has some good moments. So while he can never fully redeem himself, he's stained with the original sin of supporting the NSA's ability to spy on you so long as the material that they're querying is held by a private company and not directly on a government-run server. Band-aid on a gaping wound was the term I used at the time, and Rand was pissed at him. You could tell. Rand was all sweaty. He was glaring at him at the time, and I fucking love Rand for that. Well, I can never forgive him for that, or for the butter cow incident. You know, that was cringe. At the very least, he's endorsed the winner, and very possibly the general election winner. Again, we're looking forward to an election here where the winner of the election may triumphantly crack off his ankle monitor, stepping out of the Mar-a-Lago to get into his limo. We're looking at a case where the Democratic candidate may end up losing against a convicted felon. In fact, that's the most likely outcome, actually, of this election. It's going to be great. The problem is that up until then, it'll probably be boring and formulaic. After New Hampshire, I expect Trump is clinched. Biden, unless he swaps himself out for someone else, he's clinched already. There's a foregone conclusion. We're not sure if there'll even be debates. And I think that we're losing something if there aren't. I do believe that Biden and Trump should have their general election debates. But with Ted Cruz's endorsement, he is a relative heavy hitter, relatively high value endorsement from Ted Cruz. Again, this can only help Trump in the general election polling, where he's already rising towards the mid-60s. I suspect with Ramaswamy, Ted Cruz, Doug Burgum endorsing, I suspect he's going to be at 65, 66 nationally. Insurmountable. There is no possibility of anyone else being nominee unless Trump literally croaks on stage or something like that. I mean, I was predicting that was the most likely thing that was going to happen, over a year ago, but now it's virtually assured. Let's see. Salty Celt. Heya. Well, heya to you too. Highland Low Roller. Honk Honk 24. Christian James. For your information, I resub 3 to 4 times daily. Is this YouTube shenanigans? I've heard similar things from other people. Yes, I am throttled on YouTube. Not so much on the live streams, though. I mean, there's 2,300 people watching live. People get more notified by that than by, my mainline uploads for some reason. I don't know. Kyle Santiago, fuck CVS. My recurring prescription, Riptidian, went from less than $1 to $10, went to Walgreens, and it was back to less than $1. Sorry, I don't know how to chat. Lol. Interesting. Price gouging by CVS. Boycott them. Yeah, I never go to CVS pharmacy because I don't have any prescriptions to fill, and the other stuff that they've got there, it's like, I'll be had closer, so why the fuck would I bother? And then the final news story. North Korea's Kim vows to dismantle unification arc as he declares South Korea principal enemy. This is very sad, by the way. It's actually a nice statue. The idea is it's a symbol of rapprochement, like eventually Korea will be one again. Now he's vowing to blow it up or something like that. By the way, I think that appeared in that very good game. What the fuck was it called? What was it called? It was that one where you can order weapons from the Russian mafia and you're in Korea. And I guess the idea is that some dictator, I can't remember, Merchant of Death, I think it was called, or something like that. And, you could have helicopters brought in and tanks dropped and shit and use fuel air bombs on targets. Difficult game towards the end. Very, very difficult. The first quarter of the game was really easy peasy. Later on, it gets fucking nuts. Yes, Mercenaries is what it was called. Yes, thank you. Mercenaries. By the way, that game was fucking great for its era. They need to remake it. If you had it with modern graphics and modern gameplay and a much bigger map, more believable, having patches of fucking jungle and literally the demilitarized. I mean, you could do all of Korea miniaturized in the game. It felt a little bit empty at times. You could actually bully civilians, I think, as well. There'd be civilians riding around farm trucks and shit, and you'd crush them with a tank. It was pretty great. Yeah, the Mercenaries too. Yeah, they need to remake that game. Of all of the PS2 games that I played, that, and it's open world, so it's great. That was one of my favorites. Just imagine what they could do with that goddamn title now. But then they'd probably make it woke or something. The Copper Owl, I might be Gen 1. Did you make a Woke Busters vid? Long ago. When Ghostbusters came out, I made a video mocking that. Tone Balloon, prediction? We're getting a Trump v. Biden debate? I don't know. I think both of them would enjoy it, but Biden might balk at the concept because, he can't really debate because he can barely speak half the time. By the way, has chat disappeared? Oh, no, there it is. Okay, never mind. I was being stupid. So yeah, in North Korea, you've got artillery barrages and ballistic missile tests. You've got rhetoric that Kim Jong-un has issued saying there will never be reunification, where someday we're going to go to war with the South. Now they're threatening to blow up the reunification arc. Again, this would not be happening if the West had sane leadership. Talks between the ROK and DPRK were mainly brokered originally by the U.S. Once the DPRK realized Western leadership was weak, all of a sudden, they stepped away from the negotiating table and everything went back to the way that it was before. I have no doubt that if Trump gets reelected, by the way, that they'll reverse course again, tensions will ease, things will warm up a bit, and the reunification arch in the end won't get used for for artillery practice or something like that. I feel sorry for the people of Korea are pretty cool. And it's like, you know, back in a state of war, to suffer perpetually. Bobcat, in fairness to the game, Korea feels kind of empty. No, but I mean like when you went into the cities and stuff, and you could destroy buildings too, which was fun with field air bombs and shit. Like there wasn't a whole lot going on. And it just, you know, didn't always fully make sense. And it was always interesting. The most fun thing that you could do, by the way, is you would get a helicopter and you'd have a couple of Russians that piloted it in, one of the carrier helicopters. And then you'd go and you'd honk the horn literally to recruit like other allied soldiers from groups that you were friendly towards, which was never North Korea, but there was a South Korea, China, and NATO troops, and then the Russians. And then you load the helicopter so you get 4 more people into it in transport. And then all of a sudden, you know, you touch down in an enemy zone and a firefight ensues. And it was just pretty cool. And then sometimes, you know, an allied vehicle would be coming up along too. So it'd be like 10, 11 dudes fighting a bunch of North Koreans. Great game. Fucking loved it. Yeah, Mercenaries was so goddamn great. I know I'm on a little bit of a rant at the moment. It has nothing to do with politics. But it has to do with North Korea, kind of, sort of. So, you know, just naming one of my favorite games. Although my favorite game of yesteryear was Ogre Battle 64. That's an RPG, and that doesn't have to do with North Korea. Massively underrated, by the way. In the US market, it didn't sell many copies. It was it's difficult to find an original N64 cartridge. My mom, it took her like 5-6 years to find one. Because I read about it in Nintendo Power back when that was a thing, Nintendo Power magazine. And instantly, like, I loved the concept of the game. And it took years, like I was almost an adult before I got a copy. When I got it, oh God, I played the shit out of it. The cartridge broke and I had to get another one off eBay. Rogue Runner. Body language was apparent with Trump during New Hampshire. Yes, absolutely. Highland Low Roller. Let's get sticks and some Air Jordans. No thanks. Rocky. Deadwood off to a promising start. True Detective is only 8 episodes long. Wink, wink, hint, hint. Clankety. Yeah, Deadwood only ran 3 seasons, and I think they had like a half season after that to cap it off, which I haven't watched. I was pissed when they canceled that. I'm like, you're right in the middle. You're just having the episode where they're having an election and Hearst is fucking around with Union troops, bringing them into camp. And then you have Swearingen bringing in a bunch of Chinese workers to buff their vote up in order to, you know, select the sheriff and the mayor and shit. And, you know, it's like all hell is about to break loose, and then they cancel the series. And they're like, well, fuck. No more boobs, you know. I was a teenager. I enjoyed that show very much for multiple reasons. Got to hear some really weird rants from Steve the Drunk. By the way, again, having Steve the Drunk get kicked in the head by the horse that time and then having him be nonverbal was sad, because I'm like, I want to hear more drunken rants from him. Massively bigoted. Yeah, definitely couldn't repeat that up on a YouTube live stream. If I were to go into that litany and I could do it word by word, by the way, because I've watched it so many times, I'd be banned in about 10 minutes. And it would be the whole channel. It wouldn't just be the stream gets taken down. That's how goddamn crazy it was. Mercenaries 2 started to get silly. What made the first one good was it presented itself a little serious, but ended up being unintentionally silly. The second one just goes full silly. I just really liked it. What was really difficult in some cases was capturing the person instead of killing them. It usually, like you know, halfway through the game, mostly you're just killing them with airstrikes and stuff like that. The goal of the game was to capture all of the leaders, the North Korean leadership. They had a pack of cards, sort of like we had in Iraq, like Chemical Ali and Hussein's sons and shit. And you worked your way up through, you know, the clubs and the diamonds and so forth. And there were actually 2 maps. You go back and forth between them. And you got twice the reward if you captured them as opposed to killing them. For the first few, it was easy. When you're silencing the artillery guns, that was the first one. When the UN base is under attack and so forth, the NATO base, I can't remember. But towards the end, it becomes almost impossible because they're surrounded by other enemies and you just sort of run and gun as fast as you can or run them over with a tank or something like that. Majestic 126, good day. Tim Poole has talked about Nikki Haley being the true Democrat plant, and the Dems will vote in the Republican primary in mass numbers, giving her the win. Your thoughts? I do not believe she will win, but I do expect it to buff up her numbers. You got to realize that not all of that polling that you're seeing doesn't count Democrat and independent voters because it's an open primary. Well, she comes in closer, but she's still never been in the lead in one of those polls. Also, the Democrats have an open effort going on to draft people to take a Dem ballot because they're terrified that Biden is going to manage to come in below 50 in the write-in vote for the state's primary, because he's not really on the ballot because he went by the DNC rules and pledged not to attend because New Hampshire refused to, not go before South Carolina. Humongous shift. Styx isn't forced to cook now. I love cooking. I cooked last night. I made cottage pie. The problem is we didn't have any fenugreek, so I was sad about that. I had to use sage and thyme instead. It's better with a pinch of fenugreek. And by the way, you only need a pinch in the hamburger when you're browning it to make a good cottage pie. If you add more than a pinch, it overwhelms the flavor. Machete-ish Records. I think there's a Mercenaries 3 coming to D-Box Game Pass. Interesting. Monono Kimifan. Why streaming so late? I can barely watch live now. My apologies, but I had to change. I'm on a different time zone. Before, if I went early afternoon Netherlands time, it was going to be an early morning stream for much of my audience, EST, and especially in the central time zone. Now that I'm back in the EST, I can't really stream at 8 o'clock in the morning. I need to caffeinate. I could, but it wouldn't be high energy. It wouldn't be as entertaining to people. It'd be fun, but then again, a lot of people are glad that I'm streaming on this time zone or would stream in the evening or something like that. It's impossible to abide by everyone's schedules. Patch Christ. Cottage pie must be a New Englander thing. I think so. It's basically seasoned hamburger on the bottom. Just some herbs and garlic powder. You definitely need that. Then you put whatever fucking vegetables you want in the middle layer. I use generally peas and carrots. My mom wanted me to add corn, so I added some corn. I don't really care, but, it's still good. And then on top, you have a layer of really, really buttery mashed potatoes. You pre-cook the mashed potatoes and the burger first. You put in your layers. You put it in the oven. You can crisp the top. You don't have to. You can also make them creamy mashed potatoes and add, milk or heavy cream. This time I didn't. I just added a fuck ton of butter and onion powder mainly. And it was good, let me tell you. Oh, and by the way, yes, I put ketchup on it because I'm a madman. Yeah, shepherd's pie is usually with lamb. And like the pseudo shepherd's pie that my parents tend to make is burger and then just the corn and then the potatoes on top, and they're more creamy. The way I do it's different. I like carrots and peas more than corn for that. Zoe Fenderblast, find an F-Nord 6.9 or 7.3 Power Stroke from the 80s. The engines were made by International Harvester, a tractor company. You can run them on used motor oil mixed with 10% stale gas. Sounds rugged. I don't know what I'd use it for, but yeah, sounds impressive. And then please send them more super chats or Rumble rants, by the way, because I'm going to keep it a little bit on the shorter side today. I'm still recovering from the 2.5 hours I went live streaming on caucus night. Menacing Scarab, can you explain why you, Tim Pool, and Patrick David think leftist Tulsi gun grabber would be a good pick for Trump VP? I can't understand it. She's a snake authoritarian. Firstly, it's not that I like all of her views. Let's get that clear. Secondly, it's not because I'm promoting her as a good potential VP. It's just I think she's on the short list. Politically and strategically speaking, it would be a knockout punch. Having Tulsi Gabbard on there, she's well-spoken, she's young, a lot of cross-aisle support. It would be strategically a good idea. That's not to say that I'm specifically promoting her. I will point out that she has gone back quite a bit on her anti-gunnery. I don't know whether that's genuine or not. It's one problem on which I'd probably agree with you on. But as far as strategy goes, you could definitely do worse. I think Kristi Noem would be top in that slot, though. Baron Von Blair. Just Cause 1 and 2 was another fun sandbox blow-it-up game, set in an archipelago. Your character and a grapple hook and a parachute. Clank. I like open-world games with a lot of beautiful scenery and nature going on. If there are animals and shit around, that makes it even better. Rocky, I'd pay good money to watch Gordon Ramsay yell at you. That'd be funny. Idiot sandwich meme aside. He probably would if I showed up at his restaurant, start put ketchup in the food, he probably would yell at me. Although a lot of it looks really good. I was watching a lot of cooking shows there for a while. There's some interesting stuff. Jamie Oliver's fun too. And I like Ainsley Harriott best, though, because he's just bombastic and says off-the-wall shit and just starts laughing for no reason. Yeah, I like Ainsley Harriott, I think, best of all of the cooking shows. Anyway, I'm going to go offline now. I will be back tomorrow with more news. Of course, for the Thursday live stream, keep in mind, of course, I will be going live when the New Hampshire primary comes in. So that day, I won't do a live stream. I think, what day was it? Is it next Monday or Tuesday or something? I can't remember the exact day. It's my birthday in 3 days, too. Maybe I'll, is that a live streaming day? Aw, I was going to say, I was going to use an excuse if my birthday fell on a weekday. I was going to say, okay, I'm not doing anything today. I'm taking the day off and I'm going to go shoot guns or something like that. I'm officially in my mid-30s. Yeah, baby, 36 years old. Didn't expect to live this long based on the abuse I've put my body through, actually. Somehow I'm still here. I think demons do it to me. That's about all. Peace out.